In 2012, when The Dark Knight Rises and the original Avengers were both still out in theaters, it created a bit of a divide, and not just between DC and Marvel fans. I think it had a lot to do with the approaches that both Nolan and Whedon used in their filmmaking. Nolan was dark, edgy, and grounded, but Whedon chose to go full-out comic book fun. Well, be prepared, real schoolers, because Age of Ultron is not as light and fluffy as you would expect. If you're wondering how Whedon could bring in a little Nolan, a little brooding, a little dark, and even, yes, a little death into Age of Ultron, clearly you've never seen any of his shows before. If you are a fan of his shows, you know what I'm saying. Grey's Anatomy fans think they have something to complain about. As much as I rag on the heartless bastard that Whedon is, I really do respect his work. Nothing or no one is safe, because basically, if it's something the audience needs, or if it pushes the story forward in a more interesting manner, he'll gladly kill off any main character. And has. Buffy died twice. It was nice to see that Whedon was able to infuse a little more of his own personal style in Age of Ultron as opposed to the original Avengers film. However, that does put some of these iconic characters in very interesting and more diverse situations that we've never seen them in before. Why, do you ask, would he do that when he already has a billion-dollar formula established? Because he's kinda brilliant. Most notably, Hawkeye, of course played by Jeremy Renner, gets a huge chunk of the story thrown his way, and as a result, it really humanizes the film. That should come as no surprise to anyone who's enjoyed Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because Whedon and his writing team loved to give the character of Xander as many crucial plot points as they could. For those of you unfamiliar with Buffy, Xander was one of the only human characters surrounded by werewolves, witches, demons, and slayers, and yet, Whedon and his writing team never let you forget why he was important. I love the similar treatment that Hawkeye got in Age of Ultron, because here he is, one of the only humans surrounded by gods and monsters, and yet he really carries the story. He becomes the heart of the film. Apparently that wasn't enough heart for Whedon, so he decided to add another one. A big green one, the size of a watermelon. Another huge change, no pun intended, came with the Hulk and his changing relationship with Black Widow. Now, while I once again enjoyed the awkward adorableness of Mark Ruffalo, and his chemistry with Scarlett Johansson is undeniable, as a Hulk purist, I had some issues. And people already had an issue with I'm always angry. In Age of Ultron, I felt that the Hulk was neutered. Now, while I did enjoy the dual relationship between Banner and Natasha, the Hulk and Black Widow, I felt that the Hulk is never a character to be summoned or to come and go as people please. And the Hulk actually makes emotionally based decisions. He only has one emotion, the one I'm showing right now. Although even a purist like me, you can forgive it. That's because the Hulk's action scenes, especially the one versus the Hulkbuster, are nothing short of epic. It's everything you want, so full of energy, life, and humor. Of course, the Hulk versus Hulkbuster scene could only have happened because of one of the new characters. Paul Bettany as Vision, Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, and Aaron Taylor-Johnson as Quicksilver breathe such amazing life into these new characters, but at the same time, Whedon makes these characters earn their spot within the film, as they are also very flawed and have a very fleshed out backstory. So basically, none of them got the Hawkeye treatment. As a huge fan of the twins from my days of reading X-Men comics, whoa, am I allowed to mention that? Is Fox watching? I really felt they nailed the Maximoffs, which is saying something, because Evan Peters in X-Men Days of Future Past as Quicksilver really stole the show. But in Age of Ultron, they really got the brotherly, sisterly relationship. Their powers looked beautiful, and they were a lot of fun to watch. However, it was another new character that really stole this show. But again, purists might have an issue. This version of Ultron is definitely not one that I have seen before, and it's arguably not one that anyone has seen before. But again, it's the sense of Whedon balance that really makes this character memorable. Sure, he was calculating, he was menacing, he was dangerous, but he was also flawed, he was sarcastic, and he was kind of human. In this version of the Avengers mythology, I couldn't really see the classic version of Ultron fitting in as well, and it takes a man with the talents of James Spader to really pull off all of those acting elements. Couple that with amazing special effects and some of Whedon's best one-liners, and Ultron is Age of Ultron's for the win. However, sometimes there is a downside to balance with all the original characters, content, and new directions. Did you just say nude erections? That billion-dollar formula, that Disney or Marvel formula, if you will, does come back to haunt you once or twice, and within this movie you do feel at times you are watching the original Avengers all over again. This was a brilliant setup for future Marvel films, which is something that the first Avengers really didn't do, but this time we got to see the darker tone or direction that they're going in. We got to see hints of Civil War, and I know that the Russos will absolutely rock Infinity Wars, but I miss Joss already, because of course Avengers Age of Ultron isn't earn it. I'll sum up by saying I often use Whedon's writing to teach about subtext in film, and one of the Vision's lines near the end of the movie was rife with subtext. The Vision goes on to say that basically things are beautiful simply because they don't last forever, but it's just an honor to be among them. I got the impression that was a little wink goodbye. Poll question, what is your favorite Marvel movie so far? As always, leave your answers in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to Real School, follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link and you can become a Real School patron. But until next time, school's out.